Hello, my name is Janie Moore. I'm an assistant professor here at Texas A&M University in the Biological and Agricultural Engineering Department. In this video, you'll find an oral history project for two of the first few African descent Black people of color in the field of bio and ag engineering to receive PhDs and go on to start and be instrumental in programs at historically Black colleges and other universities within the field of bio and ag engineering. We're calling this project The Conversation with Our Elders. It's a look at their history and where they think we're headed within the field. Thank you for your time, for coming and observing this video. If you have questions, please feel free to contact us. And we look forward to continued conversations with our elders. Thank you. All right. Welcome to our oral history and ASABE session. We are glad that you have taken the opportunity to join us as we hear and archive the experiences of pioneers within the field. Oral history projects are a powerful tool that allow generations of members to connect to our foundations through the perspectives of those who have come before us. We would like to thank our current ASABE President, Dr. Sue Nokes, for allowing us the opportunity to record this session. At this time, I would like to turn it over to her to say a few words. Dr. Nokes, few words. Dr. Nokes.
Thank you, Dr. Moore. And I just want to welcome everyone to this session and also thank Mikela, Pryor, and Janie Moore for coming up with this idea and following through and getting it done. And I'm just excited to listen and hear the histories. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Nokes. At this time, I would like to introduce Mikela Pryor. Mikela is a master's student at Texas A&M University in the Biological and Agricultural Engineering Department. Mikela.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm so glad to be here, and I'm very excited to introduce our speakers. So Dr. Gayle is one of our speakers today. He was born in Jamaica and received his AS in agricultural science from the Jamaica School of Agriculture in 1964. And prior to pursuing studies in the United States, his career began as a field supervisor for herbicides at the Innswoods Sugar Estates in Spanish Town, Jamaica. He transitions to a field engineering role, and in 1972, he moved to North Carolina to pursue further studies. He received his BS in agricultural engineering from North Carolina A&T State University in 1974 and his MS in 1976, followed by his PhD in 1982 from North Carolina State University. Upon receiving his PhD, he was hired at Ncat as an assistant professor of agricultural engineering, and he was the director of agricultural and biological systems from 1987 to 1991, acting chairperson for the Department of Plant Science and Technology from 1991 to 1993, chairman of the Department of Natural Resources and Environmental Design from 1993 to 2001, and the Director of Agricultural and Biosystems Engineering from 2001 to 2004. He led the successful effort to get the agricultural engineering program at Ncat accredited through ABET in 1992, which became the first accredited agricultural engineering program at a historically Black university. He is the first African American to earn a PhD in biological and agricultural engineering from North Carolina State and is the 5th in the nation. He also brought the NRCS Technology Support Center to Greensboro, North Carolina. And in 2019, he retired after 40 years of teaching and research. Why, Dr. Gayle, did you pursue agricultural engineering?
That may be a long way to get to that, but I'm from a family of teachers, accountants, some in the law enforcement, And I just didn't want to get into any of those things. So I decided to try agriculture, which, family didn't like that too much. Anyhow, so I took that, went to the College of Agriculture in Jamaica. Formerly, it was the Jamaica School of Agriculture. Now it's called the College of Agriculture, Science and Education, CASE. And there, I met young faculty, graduated from A&T, which I did not know. And I was impressed with the guy. For surveying and the way he dressed, he always rode a white horse for some reason I do not know. And used to have what we call back then a slide rule. You guys are maybe too young to remember what a slide rule looks like. It's like a calculator, but it's like a rule that you slide along to do your multiplication, division, and so forth. However, with that, he put me under his wings, and as it were, and we looked at surveying, some soil sciences, and water management. And that's the reason why I got into agricultural engineering from that point on. We did not offer an agricultural engineering course per se at JSA, but we were teaching classes or components of what we call agricultural engineering. That helped me to transition very good at North Carolina A&T State University, as well as NC State.
Nice. So, Dr. Gayle, in your opinion, what needs to be done to recruit more African Americans into agricultural and biological engineering?
Yeah, over the years in recruitment, look at it, it's kind of hard to look at African Americans to try to convince them to get into the field of agriculture, and that's one of the things. But all I can say to that question is, in a short answer, is just recruiting. We just have to get out there to sell the program, to kind of differentiate between plowing lands and farming as they see it, and talk about the technology behind these. So I just figure just recruiting and branding, as it were. What is the strength of our program at these HBCUs that we can get the students get out, and what are the job opportunities there after they graduate. So branding our program, what are we best known for, and sell it to the student the best way we can.
In your opinion, what are the key ingredients that made your program successful in graduating agricultural and biological engineers?
There are a number of things for that. The first one I would look at would be the high academic standards that not because, okay, let me back up on that one. The high academic standards, because it's ABIT accredited. So the first thing, once the program is accredited, they know that there'll be bona fide engineers when they get out. The good mentoring. So we look at these students are coming from our home, closely knit. So we try to mimic, as it were, that home environment. So we are showing them that they deserve to be here and we care about them, right? So then they look at the students that we recruit, the quality of the student, right? That's very important. And also the quality of our faculty that we're hiring to deal with these students. Or the experience of faculty in dealing with people from all races, students from all races, rather than just African American. We just lump it together. That's the sign of a good mentor person, good faculty, right? And the environment so therefore that's the environment that is created by us as well as other faculty members. We also have research programs that support these students, so they're getting some type of research experience while in school, right? Support of our alums. Our alums would get out there and then recruit for us. Currently, when I was active, there were about 6 of these that I used out there from different parts of the United States, and they would help us to recruit. those are your best recruiters because they know what the program is like. They are younger, they can talk to these students more so than old folks like myself, right? And there's a unique, what we call academic environment that is what's established between the College of Agriculture and Environmental Sciences, as well as the College of Engineering. So there was a joint MOU. So the program is jointly administered by these two schools. So with that, we had that going for us, and I think that helped us a lot. So the students are coming in, they see agricultural engineering. They're saying, why am I here? But they're also seeing that they're not only in the College of Agriculture, they're also in the College of Engineering. And they are free to attend meetings on either side with the students from agriculture, student from engineering. And the last one I would add is the reputation of the program is out there. And those are things that have been spread by our alums. And the success that they have had in the workforce, as well as graduate school, we look at that and we are very impressed with what they do at these high majority institutions. So those are the things that we figure that we are successful in those areas because of the teaching, the faculty, the open door policy that we maintain over the years. And that has gotten out to parents. The key, if we can convince the parents, we almost can say that we have the students.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm going to follow up on that question because some of the things you mentioned were the reasons that I decided to pursue my undergrad education at North Carolina A&T. And one of the big things, you know, when I got to A&T for orientation, you guys convinced my parents that I was going to be safe.
That's right.
So that was a major thing, but also, you know, you took my mom to, or you took her to the College of Ag, person, and they took her to the College of Engineering person. So having the opportunity to talk to people in both colleges was helpful for her too, because I was able to pool money from both sides. As an out-of-state student,
Right.
I needed those extra funds, and so we kind of got to dip out of both pots. So I think things you mentioned are definitely some of the key successful things for the programs. And now I tell everybody to go there. So.
That's right. So you're one of the recruiters.
Yep. All right. So the next question I'll ask you, Dr. Gayle, and then Mikela has 2 questions for you, and then I'll have another follow-up question after those 2 questions. Okay. So the biological engineering program at North Carolina A&T had gone without accreditation since its founding in 1945 as agricultural mechanization. Were your efforts to accredit the program the first, and what led you to seek accreditation?
Yes, my effort was the first. Prior to that, during my time, as you know, the program was not accredited. Reason for that most of these guys, except for those in the faculty in the College of Engineering, but those in the agricultural engineering program were faculty without without PhD degree. They were all master's holders. So my role upon graduating from NC State was they actually tracked me down over the period of time and said, okay, if you're willing to come back to A&T, and I had to because there was a Board of Governors scholarship that I got. And at the end of my period of studies, then I would have to come back for at least 3 years. So I had to come back, but there was a reason for them wanting me to come back over that period. So now we look at this and we said, okay, what do we need to do? One PhD will not do, but for the first accreditation, we decided that we're going to go with various members from different programs on campus and pool our efforts to get the program accredited. We know that accreditation was important because students will have to be FE or PEs, right? So, and you cannot unless you're from an accredited program. So with that, we decided to just take the ball and run with it. And we start to look around for different suitable, what I call suitable candidate, qualified faculty that will help us to build that program. So my task was to find these guys, and hence, as you may recall, Dr. Shabazi, Dr. Rist, Dr. Lee, and myself. So we were able to know how the minimum required, which I think ABET standard would be 4 faculty members with PhD. We also had a very experienced faculty with an MS, but years of service. So we know, therefore, he's also qualified. He was also a PE. So we brought those 5, 6 people in, and we settled on, and we were successful first time around. And we, and to this date, I think we also got through the last accreditation, as far as I know. So, is there any other part I'm missing out on?
Yeah, I just have a couple of more questions. First, approximately how many students have graduated from the biological engineering program at Ncat? I've done some of the research and trying to figure out how many students, at least from both FAMU and Ncat, have graduated, but it's I know for a fact that the numbers were not as low as the numbers that I have seen from different, education reports. So how many students, of course, to your knowledge, have graduated from the program?
To my knowledge, as you said, right? I think we're looking at 200, 205 from our program. And of those, there are 18 that have gone on for complete the PhD, and 5 of those are in track for the PhD, right? And we have already sent out some to Dr. Moore. Will have 1 or 2 this fall if the COVID will allow us to have classes. But that's, as far as I know, we are a little bit over 200. And we are looking at, let me hasten to say that they're not all African Americans. We have a mixture, as you know, with FAMU, that we have, with FAMU, I should say. We have a mixture of people from different races and so forth, which we embrace, because that brings that type of diversity to the program, and see how these students work together on their capstone design.
So I'm gonna interject. Do you know how many of those 18 you said have PhDs? How many are faculty members?
Maybe let me think. I'm just guessing now, Jamie. I think I know of 1 for sure, right? Because most of these guys, so you're 1, and I think they've recently hired Lauren. Blame?
Yeah, thanks.
And this wasn't in our list of questions from before, but yeah, I'm just curious of all of the things that you've done and experiences that you've had in your career. What are some of the ones that you're most proud of?
Mikela. There are many things, and in your introduction, it's not. Let me go back on that one a bit. I was the 4th in the U.S., not the 5th. There are 4 of us, right? And but Dr. Magee and myself, we are the only 2 that are out of with a BS out of the HBCU institution. But I'm proud of, frankly, is to get the program at A&T accredited, because as you said earlier, it was the first in the nation to do so. And then we also established a pretty good relationship with FAMU. So they also got a credit with Dr. Charles Mcgee. Right. But I think the accomplishment that I would prize most is to get that program accredited. That was my task, and I'm happy to say that I delivered on that task.
Right, so my question now, I wanted to ask about your lived experiences while you were studying at A&T compared to those at NC State. What was it like? Take us back to those days.
That's I can answer right off the bat, but I'm taking that I have to choose put my thoughts together on that one. Yeah, as you know, I'm coming from the Caribbean. There was not a problem there transition into ENT. The experience there was very good. You miss home, but after a while you start to settle in. And plus, there are a couple of things that was a plus on my side. My sister came here, which I didn't know until I applied to NT. My brother-in-law also was here, and some guys that were ahead of me in Jamaica. But so they were in pretty high positions in Jamaica. And it's after coming here that they're also graduate. So that's kind of gave me some feeling of settling in. And my advisor, the chairman at the time, Dr. Dunn, who incidentally is the one that followed me and employed me, mentioned all these guys to me. So I kind of, it was easy for me to go in and talk with him. Mm-hmm. State, going into NC State was not a problem. He took me there. I had no choice on that one. I was thinking of going somewhere else. He said, no, I wanted to go to NC State. So not knowing that he was already talking to the chairman at NC State to get for me to have a visit, because I was frankly thinking going south, where it's warmer than to stay in the Carolinas or going further north. However, the experience there was good. I met one of the, I would say, most important person in my life, Dr. Skaggs, that, kind of bring me through. So having a good advisor coming from a predominantly Black country and a predominantly Black university, he kind of pulled me through. So when things went bad sometimes, you have your ups and your downs. I could easily go and talk with him. So I'm very grateful to him for that. So the key is really your mentor and your advisor. Choose them well.
Yeah. All right, so last question. These are easy ones. So what direction do you see for the program overall in general? Like what's the future look like in your opinion? And then we want to know, what are your plans during your retirement?
Okay. Program is on the right track. I'm hearing that we are currently heading on the close to the 60 number of students coming in there. The freshman class coming in, I'm hearing that it's fairly large, much larger than my time or your time. Mm-hmm. And so I think that we're on the right track. I'm not out of the picture completely. As you know, I was approved for Professor Emeritus. So my office is on campus, still waiting for me to get back there. I'm still actively recruiting as I'm here at home. I'm also recruiting. I'm also looking at for scholarship funds to continue, what you experience here for the student. because a lot of the students, they're bright guys. And when I say guys, I mean male, female together. But the parents are strapped financially. So we are trying to get, ease that burden for them. So the parents may be not worried, the students will not be worried that, I'm here, but if I do not have the funds, what will happen next semester? So I'm still continuing to do that. I have no teaching at this moment in my mind, not yet. So I'm taking a break from that. I want to travel a bit and maybe go back home, but I cannot at this time. So thanks to COVID-19, I have to stay back home, and it may be bad in that sense, but I think my wife prefers me staying here. So she will have some more time with me.
Well, thank you, Dr. Gayle. At this time, I'm going to ask if Dr. Nokes has any questions or just follow-up comments that she may want to share.
Well, I didn't realize that Dr. Gayle and I were alums of the same institution, because I graduated from NC State in 1990. And Wayne and Judy Skaggs were definitely very influential in my life too. So we share that in common. But I want to thank you for taking this time to do this oral history. It's so valuable to the people coming behind you. And I would agree that ABET accreditation is so essential, and it's quite an accomplishment. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Gayle. And that's the
Dr. Charles Mcgee, a Mississippi native, received his BS in General Agriculture from Alcorn State University in 1970 and his MS in Agricultural Engineering from the University of Minnesota in 1973. He began his career as a research associate and instructor at North Carolina A&T State upon graduating. He earned his PhD in Agricultural and Biological Engineering from Cornell University in 1980. He was the third African American to earn a PhD in ABE. Since graduating with his PhD, he has been a professor at the University of Arkansas, the Fort Valley State University, and Florida A&M University. While at the University of Arkansas, upon graduating with his PhD, he was the first African American professor in the Agricultural Engineering Department. While at Fort Valley State, he received the first U.S. patent in the history of the university. Also at Fort Valley State, he was the acting director of the Georgia Goat Research and Extension Center from 1986 to 1988 and acting research director of the Agricultural Research Station. Upon arriving at Florida A&M in 1995, he founded the Biological Systems Engineering Program in 1996 and served as director of the program until 2001. He was also the interim dean of the College of Engineering, Sciences, Technology, and Agriculture, and director of land grant programs from 2003 to 2006. He was the president of Minorities in Agriculture, Natural Resources, and Related Sciences from 1990 to 1991, of which he was one of the charter members. Some of his accomplishments include several U.S. patents and numerous publications, some of which include a patent for the solar evaporative cooling vest. First off, Dr. Mcgee, I would like to ask, why did you decide to pursue agricultural engineering?
Well, I was a junior in college, Mikela. I never heard of agricultural engineering. And I guess the reason why is just my blood. I wanted to be in something that was related to agriculture because of my background. I grew up on a small system type farm, in South Mississippi. And during high school, I was pretty good in mathematics, okay? Now, we're talking about in the 60s. I finished high school in 1966. At that time, to be honest, I had no intention of going to college. I couldn't afford to go to college. Okay? My grandparents couldn't send me to college. And so what happened for me, I was going to go to the Air Force because, they get those standardized exams for the Air Force. and only two students in my class of 66 students, we passed the Air Force exam. So I was planning on joining the enlisting in the Air Force, but I did not pass the physical. So by accident, I guess I said by accident, when I returned to my small hometown, we had to go to Jackson to take the physical, which is about 65 miles away from my hometown. I just happened to run into my high school board teacher, and I had the top student in his class, and so he knew that I was planning on going to enlist in the Air Force. So I explained to him what happened. So Charles, this must have been like in June, early June of 1966. He said, well, I'm going out to Alcorn on Monday, and if you would like to go with me, I try to get you in Alcorn. Okay, at that time, I hadn't even applied to a college in the place. The only thing I had done was submit my ACT score to Alcorn State University. And fortunate for me, I had made a very high score in my high school class. So he took me out to Alcorn, and we went to see the registrar. We went to see the head of the Department of Agriculture. And so they said we could get you to the university at the time, the college. It was called Alcorn A&M College, Agriculture and Mechanical College. And so we can admit you just based on ACT test score. And so they admitted me and gave me a job, even though I didn't even have an official application on file. So then what happened? So I'm a person who likes college. I enjoyed mathematics when I was in high school. So naturally, my boy ag teacher brought me there. So he was like my role model. And so I decided that I'm going to major in agricultural education. And you only had two options, either general agriculture or agricultural education. And so back in the 60s, if you were Black American or Black male, and so I decided I'm going to major in agricultural education, either the USDA. Okay. And so I was pursuing a major in agricultural education. So, and for agriculture, curriculum in agriculture education, you only need algebra to get your degree. But like I said, I like a challenge. I took all my electives in math. I took, the algebra, trigonometry, Cal1 and Cal2. And so what happened was, during my junior year, the University of Minnesota wrote a letter to the division director for the Division of Agriculture, and the University of Minnesota, 1968, and they were looking for African Americans that might want to pursue a Master's of Science degree in agricultural engineering. That was my first time ever learning anything about agricultural engineering, and then it dawned on me that this is the field that I've been looking for all the time. Something where I use my mathematical skills and I could see it related to agriculture. So I told the division director, you could send my name in, because we only had 2 students that could meet the criteria, to get into the College of Engineering at the University of Minnesota. The other student had already did it to the University of Illinois. So they sent my name in. So naturally, I didn't have enough in physics. I needed more calculus, but you only need 2 students that can meet the criteria of calculus in order to get admitted to the University of Minnesota. So I met the criteria, and they said, so I started communicating with the department. You can send to the department head of Minnesota, and they told me, we can admit you under the condition that you're going to have to go back and take all these courses in agricultural engineering that you are deficient in, because I needed more math, I needed more calculus, I needed, but you only do some of the physics and all the engineering sciences, heat transfer, fluid mechanics, thermodynamics. So the bottom line is, I had to do 2 years of undergraduate courses. So after the 2 years of undergraduate courses, when I completed those 2 years of undergraduate courses, they evaluated me, and they said, Charles, you have performed well enough that you can go to physics and all the engineering sciences. What I did, so I enrolled at the University of Minnesota in the fall of 1969. And so I did 2 years of undergraduate study and stayed on and did another 2 years and got my master's of science. Okay, so I went to school 6 years, full time. So after the 2 years of undergraduate courses, my evaluated me, and they said, okay, I want to add something. And so I finished my master's. I did my master's in fall. Bottom line is, I had sold and in 1963, that's when I joined the faculty at North Carolina A&M University as a research associate / instructor. So the spring of 1974, I taught a couple of courses and worked on a research project. So what I discovered was fall and summer, the whole year. Okay, all one and something. And so I did that. And so that's what I at the University of Minnesota and finished my master's. Because you have a PhD, you're not going to advance very far. So I decided, and so I did 2 years of undergraduate study. My master's of 3, that's when I joined Africa. So I went to 6 years at North Carolina A&M University. I needed to go back and get a PhD. And so what I did, so I applied to Cornell and a couple other universities. But my advisor at Minnesota, he had told me, he tried to get me in the state of Minnesota. He said, but Charles, if you decide you want to do, and so I finished my master's for PhD, I would suggest that you try to go to Cornell and work on they have a different perspective on agricultural engineering. And at that time, they had the top graduate program in the nation. What I discovered was that he's very false. So I decided that anyway, so I applied to Cornell, and I got admitted to Cornell in fall of 1974. I enrolled at Cornell. It took me 5 years working on a research project. So what I discovered was that if you're in academia, it was in order for me to get my PhD. And after finishing my PhD at Cornell in very fall, so I got a PhD. And so what I did, so I applied to Cornell in a couple of fall in 1979. I joined the faculty at the University of Arkansas Fayetteville. Granted, I didn't think it was a big deal, but I found it was a big deal because the first African American that they had ever employed in College of Agriculture at the University of Arkansas. So I was counted in the College of Engineering as well as in the College of Agriculture. And so I joined the faculty at the University of Arkansas in the fall of 79. And so I stayed there for 5 years. And I was lured to Fort Valley State, which is in Fort Valley State College, which is in Fort Valley, Georgia, as a assistant professor. And I had a split appointment. I didn't think it was a big deal, man. Teaching that they had employed. I was counting at an agricultural engineering technology program. During that time, no black college had agricultural engineering. I was going to a Fort Valley State program, and so I stayed at Fort Valley State which is Fort Valley, Georgia, indicated my as an assistant professor, and so I and during the time Fort Valley State. And so I realized that unless I personally stayed there for 5 years, then I was going to more as a assistant professor, teaching and also research engineering. We were not going to have very many folks in agricultural engineering. So 1984, when I left the University of Arkansas, we only had like 3 black Americans. 3 black Americans that had a PhD in agriculture and biological engineering. And so during the early 1995, I just personally did something new. He wanted to start an agricultural engineering program for Arkansas. We program it for black Americans, 3 black order agricultural mechanical university. So they asked me to serve on the due diligence committee in order to establish this particular program, which I did. And so I joined in 1984 when I left Arkansas. We only had a Florida A&M black American in 1995. The Board of Regents in order, they approved the program in January of 1996. And we had our first class to matriculate in the fall of 1996. The fall of 1996. And I was a solo faculty member, administrator, janitor, secretary, you name it. I was doing almost everything for the first year. And so 2 years later, I hired another black American that I had met, Dr. Nathaniel Baylor. I had met Dr. Baylor at an ASABE meeting in 1979 or something like that. So he joined the faculty. So he came on in 1997. So there were 2 of us, and we had our first graduate for at that time it was called Biological and Agricultural Systems Engineering. BASE is an acronym that we used to use. We had our first graduate in 2000, in the year 2000. We received ASABE accreditation in 2003, and the rest is history, as they would say. During the life of the program, we have graduated about 74 students. Students have completed the program, and out of that 74 students, 11 of the students have gone on and received a PhD degree, and 8 of those 11 got their PhD in STEM field, and 2 of them got a PhD in agriculture or biological. We received ASABE accreditation in 2003, and in STEM, 12 got a PhD in agriculture or biological engineering. And some like about the rest of medical, we have one got a PhD about medical engineering. We have had at least one to get her PhD in civil engineering. So we have done very well as far as what we did was, it was important to me for some of the students. I wanted a certain percent of the students to go on and graduate study in the STEM field. And so it's our mission that this is one of our objectives that we would like to achieve, okay, to increase the pool of African Americans in biological and agricultural engineering. And so these our students have gone to graduate school, into our mission to increase the pool of African Americans in graduate school at about 30 plus different universities. It has always been a high priority for us at FAMU in order to, try to build up the pool of African Americans in this type of discipline. And what's your next question?
Got that right. All right, and then another follow-up question. Of the students that have received PhDs, whether, just in general STEM fields or in ABE, how many of those do you know of that are faculty members?
The PhD in biological and agriculture engineering,
or the STEM that came from your department.
We get 3 students. They got the PhD in agriculture or biological engineering, or about agriculture and environment. We have 1 student that finished her PhD in biological and environmental engineering at Cornell University. Tiffany Guthrie, she was the first African American female to ever complete PhD in that department. We had another student, he got his PhD in agriculture and biological engineering at the University of Florida. And he's now working for the Florida Experiment Station. He took the position, he's not teaching in the classroom, but he does work for the University of Florida Experiment Station. And we the first male to go and get his PhD, finish his PhD in biological engineering, was Tremaine Powell. Tremaine is the Dean of Engineering at a community college in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And so we have, out of the 3 degrees in agriculture or biological engineering, 2 of them in academia, and 50 is in the private sector with some technology company.
Awesome.
And we have another young lady that she got a PhD in molecular biology, and she is an associate professor at Stanford University. That's in Florida, Florida.
Okay. All right. So the next question, in your opinion, what needs to be done to recruit more African Americans into agricultural and biological engineering?
So what needs to be done? Well, I think my letter in responding to you, Dr. Moore, at the white institutions, we don't have 2 accredited programs at a historical black institution. Both programs are undergraduate. So essentially, we have been serving as a feeder for those PWI, dominant white institutions that would like to have some underrepresented minorities, in their program. So the main thing that you can do, just like anything else. My thing is, I say all the time, I like to keep it, I like to make things simplistic. I can possibly use that term. I believe we have about 37 predominantly white institutions with a program in biological engineering, or similar name program. And so the way I look at it, what I said to the department head at Penn State was, if you got out of those 37 schools, if you have 50 faculty members, and they graduate 2 underrepresented. When I say underrepresented, I'm talking about the U.S. government definition. Whether we talk African Americans, Native Americans, Hispanics, Latino, that's what I'm talking about. But let's just use the African Americans. Okay. If you have 50 faculty members at the PWI, if they produce a mentor or whatever, if they produce 2 African American PhDs in the next 15 years now, we would have more than 100 PhDs. African American PhDs. All of them, granted, all of them will go into academia, but you may get, since most of us with PhD, we do normally go into academia. So we wouldn't be having this conversation 15 years from now. And I indicated in response to you and to Dr. Nokes that at PWI, most of the time you can start in your own backyard, on your own campus. Okay, at Texas A&M, you probably got a lot of high quality African American students. They are in pre-med. They come in pre-med, claiming that they're gonna be a doctor. Well, to be honest, Dr. Moore, 95%. Now I'm just using 95%. But 95% of those students will not ever inside of a medical school. They don't know about agricultural engineering. So the faculty or administrative department head, just get to know these students, talk to them, write them a letter, and introduce them to agriculture biological systems or the name of your program. Just like that department head in Minnesota wrote to me, you may find somebody like me. I mean, how much time can it do to write a letter? Okay, and it makes a difference, in my opinion. If you, especially for high school students, if you're 17 years old, you get a letter from a university professor, that makes you feel important and stuff. Okay, you're probably gonna read it, you might respond to it, but you can't, you can't do it at home. Or other thing, at Texas A&M, the faculty members like you and other faculty colleagues, especially white colleagues, I know you got stuff. You gotta go read, you might respond to the side of engineers. You got a minority chapter there. I suspect minorities in agriculture, natural resources, and related sciences. You certainly got a whole bunch. I know you got a nested chapter pre-med and pre-law students. And the law, you got a minority students. And the law students, well, most of them, anyway, I should say. As the faculty member, go over and talk to them. Invite yourself. I want to give a presentation on my research. And trust me, you may have maybe ask you a question. That might be very suitable. Dr. Moore, after you leave the meeting, get the emails. Right now, thank them for inviting you and letting you do a presentation. You said, if you come, I give you a tour of the department or whatever. And so these kinds of things, it doesn't cost any money. The other thing, once you find out whatever these students you're writing to, write a letter to the parent or the guardian and explain to them. Because you see, with Black Americans, if you start talking about agriculture, they don't think about wars. But we know that day is gone. So you got to convince that grandmother or that aunt or the mother, this is a very good major for us to be in, okay? For you to be in all the opportunities. And just like Mikela indicated in her article, she probably didn't know all of this either until she came by and talked to me. And you see where she is today. So it's a whole bunch of Mikela, in my opinion. Okay? And so the other thing is, for faculty today, so it's a whole bunch of Mikela. Okay? You need to reward the faculty members is those that want mental or work with these undergraduates. So the other thing is, for faculty members to make a special effort to work with these underrepresented students. When it comes tenure and promotion time, that needs to count, you know, as far as I'm concerned and stuff. Now, let's say for ASABE, if ASABE want to expand, right now, we're neglecting essentially 30% of the population in ASABE as far as our membership. When we talk about underrepresented groups, when I say 30% African Americans, Native Americans, they about 30%, about 30% of the population in the U.S. That's a big pool for us to pull from. Now, ASABE probably won't ever be as large as a society as the largest chemical engineering, civil, and electrical and mechanical. But I think in the letter that I wrote back to that was called Heinemann, where I said to it, just think about it, any great institution, most great institution in this country, whether it's an academia or some other kind of organization, if I say MIT, you will think engineering. Even though they may have a very excellent English department. If I say Johns Hopkins University, you will think medicine. So my thing is, ASABE could be a leader in diversity and inclusion for the type of engineering society. But we have a lot of awards that we give through ASABE, but we don't have an award for diversity and inclusion. So we ought to recognize those members, those faculty members, especially at the university, that work in the area. We have a lot of area of diversity and inclusion, and you have a financial award attached to it too. And you probably get the private sector to pay for it. It's something I'm throwing out there. You probably get the private sector to recognize those members, those faculty area of diversity. And what are we talking about then? Diversity and inclusion. Whatever project that we are talking about, for any project to be successful at anything, you got to have a what? You got to have a vision, okay? You got to develop a plan. You got to be committed to that plan, and you implement the plan. It's just that simple as far as I'm concerned. So if we want to have more underrepresented groups in our society, that's what we have to do. Now, I did an article for resources. Some of what Mikela has done, okay? This was 1996. And I challenged the ASABE Society in 1996 that each department would produce, I think, an African American PhD in every 10 years. We wouldn't be having this discussion today. But maybe they didn't like what I challenged, but we certainly didn't meet it. We're talking about what? A quarter of a century. Now, don't take this the wrong way. You could have recruited an unborn baby at that time and had a PhD. If you started in 1996, you want to think of it that way. First grade, I was still an unborn baby. Okay, so there are a lot of things that the PWI can do to get African Americans, especially into their program. As my boss said, University of Arkansas, you just got to get to want to. Okay, so these are some of the kind of things that I think can be done in order to get more African Americans to pursue a graduate program with the for the PhD. And actually, most of the time, if you got a PhD, you're gonna be a member of ASABE, especially if you're in academia. In most cases. Now, the other thing as far as the HBCUs, most of them, certainly only 3 of us have 3 HBCUs got a ABE program. But there are some other historical Black HBCU land grant HBCUs got a ABE program. But there are some other historical Black, most of them HBCUs, they would be good candidates to start the ABE program. Because we've got several schools, they already got engineering, they already got agriculture. But if ASABE were to approach them and let them know we're willing to work with you all and establish the program, someone might take them up on the offer. Okay? If you don't get for one school to start a program, if you don't get for one, we'll be a lot better off. That would give you another institution pipeline for your particular program. So it's just a whole plethora of things that I think we can do, but we just got to work out how do we also do it and the commitment.
Absolutely. And that answered a few of the questions. Yeah, no, that was a lot of the answers right there.
They'll give you another institution to the pipeline. Okay. So it's just a whole, all right there. Any other questions?
Yeah.
No. Which we didn't touch.
What are the key ingredients that made your program at FAMU successful in graduating agricultural and biological engineers?
So what I normally do, number one is the key to it. Even though I didn't meet your father in the flesh, so what I normally do is in August, I want to meet the either not only one to teach it in August, but even when they come for preview, I want to meet parents and your father in the flesh. We didn't talk on the telephone. So the student. And my sales pitch is the question, Mikela, students, when they show up in August, I'm the student. And I just basically tell them about all I've been doing to it, and I go back and give them the history of what happened to African Americans in come for preview. I want to be parents and the student. And that's more about why we don't want to teach it. You know, I didn't meet your body in the flesh. All the same discipline, especially in anything related to that. All we did was a negative history, but now we can turn it into about something positive. In 30 years, we're going to have, 10 billion people on this planet Earth, okay? And a large majority of them going to be, our history in this country is tied, I want to be parents and something positive. In 30 years, we're going to have all the technical systems. They can my sales pitch is more to the student in order to be the large majority of them going to be successful. And so that's the other thing. And I think even if you know from your experience with NRCS, we don't have very many folks in being successful. And that's the resources engineering that are out there working with these small minority farmers. If they need an irrigation system, if they need a hoop house. Minority farmers, if they need an irrigation system, if they need a hoop house. So that's how I try to say, the parents, the minority parents and the students, that we need you, okay? Because given our past histories in agriculture and STEM discipline, nobody, I'll say nobody, but now we can try. It hasn't been much emphasis placed on recruiting minority, or especially in African American and Hispanic. And I know it's a touch sensitive subject because a lot of time you have folks at the PWI, their attitude is Black American. They just can't handle these analytical fields, and they probably never even had a conversation with them. All Black Americans not be successful. And so that's all. Granted, on a personal note, I was expected to fail when they recruited me at the University of Minnesota. Because I come through a segregated system of school as well as college. And some of the faculty members at the University of Minnesota, the department head, you just wasting your money. Now, my department head, he didn't tell me this until years later, that there is no way that this Indian guy from an all-black college, you know, went to all-black high school, the segregated high school. There's no way he is going to be successful in getting his degree. But years later, that department head, he told me that I had vindicated him and stuff. I mean, you know, so it's a whole bunch of the students out there, you know, like Charles Mcgee, they're even better prepared than Charles Magee and stuff. And they wouldn't have to go back and do 2 years of emphasis placed on the graduate study, just like you don't have to do 2 years of undergraduate study. But there are some more reasons for us to be in these majors. And I said, from the standpoint, every race should have the capacity to. Years later, that department head, he told me that I had been in him. It's defeat itself, if you think of it that way. That's the way I think of it. And I think you see, granted, personally, I was expecting to fail on repeating the quotation that I have at the end of my letter. And that to give you all the reason in the world, I play so much faculty members at emphasis on my plan to, you know, get more African American to do majors and careers in biological and ag engineering.
While we're in this intermediate time, I just wanted to share with you, I thought this was very interesting, as you were the first African American faculty member or professor at University of Arkansas, right?
That's the University of Arkansas, Fayetteville, which is the main campus.
Okay, and that was in what, 1980 something?
Yeah, 1979 is when I joined the faculty. Okay. So 1980.
Okay, what do you think about this? 2017, so many years later, Dr. Janie Moore is the first African-American faculty member in the department at Texas A&M.
What do I think about it? I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised.
What are we doing?
If I had to guess, if Mikela were to continue and do her PhD at TAMU, she's probably going to be the first African-American female to get a PhD in that department.
Well, actually, I think she's the second. She'll be the second if she did.
Good, yeah.
Yeah, Kara would be the first.
What I think about it, Janie, what I think about it, we haven't made very much progress.
We haven't. Yeah, but all of the things you're saying are similar things to what Dr. Gayle said. Like, it's important for our people that you convince their family that agriculture is a field that they will be happy and safe in. But I think it's good that we turn the narrative around. So the way I look at it now is that as I look through the census, all my family members were in the field of agriculture. Now, they might have been farming and indentured servants or whatever, but they were in the field of ag. So I'm just continuing that legacy. And that's the way I've just tried to turn it around. Say, this is what my family does. We're ag.
Dr. Moore, we need in every area of agriculture, especially from the farm gate all the way up to where you are in the classroom.
Absolutely.
That's what I be advocating. Like I said, I'm one of the charter members, one of the founders of the Man-Eyes organization. Mm-hmm. I actually drafted I drafted the original constitution for the organization, and the goal is to have us in agriculture at all levels. Mm-hmm. But naturally, since I'm teaching at a university, you know, I worry more so about higher education than perhaps of right. You know, in the private sector.
Right. What both you, Dr. Gayle, said about, and Dr. Moore spoke on this too, is just the parent aspect. I just wanted to give my 2 cents in about that. And you know, Dr. Mcgee, because both of my parents, at least while I was transitioning majors and trying to figure out what major I wanted to do after I came to the university, both of them had told me that they had spoken to you within the past year about the program. And that was really, like you said, my parents who suggested the idea for me. And I'm not sure about, the other people that I graduated with, but that was probably my deciding factor because, like you said, your parents know you and your interest, and they were on board, especially, with the fact that there was money involved. So I think that was probably my selling point. And the fact that my parents were pretty much already sold on it. I think it made it more personable too, and at least not even just compared to other majors and stuff like that, but at least in our program, it was very personable, and felt like that this could really be a familial environment that I could be in. So that's what made it pretty cool.
Yeah, see what happened, as you said, Mikela, I get to know the parents and stuff, and naturally, you know me well and stuff. I try to be a person, I'm a man of my word for one thing. See, at the historical black schools, as you know, FAMU or A&T or whichever, you all get some intangibles that you don't necessarily get at the predominant white schools. Now, they may say otherwise. What I say intangible, self-confidence, okay? You probably already had the self-confidence and stuff, but a lot of cases, they don't, okay? A lot of students don't, okay? And so the other school, you can't measure what's in a person's heart, okay? Or the will to be successful. Those are intangibles. Just like the University of Minnesota, they were looking at just the fact that I was from a predominant white school, a predominantly black, not predominant, an all-black college, okay, in the 1960s. And let's face it, the segregated school system is not a touchstone for quality, not quality in education and stuff. And so that's why they thought, looking at it on paper, there's no way he could get a master's in this field and stuff, okay? But again, when I talk to the parents, talk about the need, why we should be in these types of fields, okay? And I try, in the money part, I know sometimes at FAMU, a lot of the students come into the BSc program just for the money, for the scholarship, okay? But they soon realize that this is important and I can make a difference, okay? And that's what you want to do. Yeah, everybody wants to make money, but you can do you can do both. In addition to making money, you want to make a difference as far as what you do for humanity. In agricultural engineering and biological engineering, that's a good place you can do both, to be honest. You probably won't get rich. Dr. Moore can tell you won't get rich as a university professor, but there are other satisfactions that I get. See, however successful Mikela becomes, I'm going to claim some of the credit for it, and it's absolutely nothing she can do about it. And that's what makes me feel good. I mean, look at history. When you, in philosophy, if you take a philosophy course, they're going to talk about Socrates, what he did, 2,500 years ago. But you can't find any papers or research that were done by Socrates. All Socrates did was what? He mentored a student named Plato, and Plato mentored a student named Aristotle. Aristotle mentored a student named Alexander the Great. So that's why Socrates is so famous. So when Mikela become famous and get these Nobel laureates, I'm going to take some credit for it.
I think I'm going to take some credit too, Dr. Mcgee.
Even though all the credit goes to you guys, I would not even be here.
and I suspect Godfrey probably projected a similar message that what I'm saying is as well and stuff. But as far as getting African Americans, as far as the PWIs, getting African Americans to pursue advanced degrees in agriculture and biological engineering, it's not just that difficult. I mean, you got to be committed to it. And this has to be important to you and your program. I say all the time, if Hannibal could get a team of elephants to cross over the Alps, the Alpine Mountains, in the wintertime, surely we can make PhDs of African American students. And just like you said in your article, we got the capacities, we got the resources, we just have to have the will and the resolve to do it. Mm-hmm. So basically, that's my message as far as to ASABE and the PWIs.
Absolutely. All right, I'm going to ask this question, Dr. Mcgee. What were some of your lived experiences at Alcorn State compared to those at Minnesota and Cornell?
What were some of my what now?
Your experiences. So just what was it like? Take us back to those days studying at Alcorn and then going to Minnesota and Cornell. Some of the things you might not have mentioned, but that stood out to you.
Well, at least for me, at Alcorn State University, basically, I didn't have many extracurricular activities because I had to work my way through college. I worked at the college dairy, and we had to milk the cows at 4 o'clock in the morning and 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And we could only get a few folks that were willing to do that. So that I didn't have much social time. And for me, I was taking 18 and 19 credit hours every semester. So I was like on a mission, to be honest. I didn't think of it that way. So I finished undergraduate college in 3 years, okay? In 3 years, between work and study and class time, I didn't have much time for anything else. But I had professors who believed in me. When I went to the University of Minnesota, my division director, he didn't call me Dr. Mcgee. He said, Charles, he said, I want you to keep your priority right when you go to the University of Minnesota. He said, I know you can do it. And the thing that's driving for it, these intangibles, I didn't want to let that man down because he believed in me and stuff. Yeah. And like I said before, the intangible that we get, what's Alcorn or what is A&T, it's the self-confidence that you get at our schools and stuff that you won't necessarily. See, at the predominantly black school, which you probably know, that almost all the professors, they want you to be successful. Now, I'm going to be honest. My experience when I was at both Minnesota, I experienced some racism in Minnesota as well as Cornell. And most of the times, some of the racist remarks the professor would make, I never even told my advisor about it at Minnesota and Cornell. Since I was the only black in the class, nobody was going to know about it except me. And sometimes the professor, they be trying to provoke you, okay? But that statement about keep your eyes on the prize, and to be honest, and I'm saying this to the white, and see, you got many white professors in the STEM field. They trying to prove a point that you can't make it, that you don't have the intellectual capacity in order to do these analytical type majors. They don't say it, but that's the reality of it. And so I knew when I went to the University of Minnesota, I knew that I was carrying the weight of all the historical black institutions on my shoulders, on my back and stuff. Okay. White students don't have to worry about that. They worry about that. And give you an example, this was in 1969, calculators was just coming out, okay? Now, think about it. When I took University of Physics at the University of Minnesota, there were like 400 students in that auditorium. I didn't have nobody to study with, and I was trying to learn how to use the slide rule at the same time.
Wow.
And to be honest, in the first quarter in physics, I got a D. This next quarter, I got a C. The next quarter, I got a B. because my advisor, they didn't expect me to do that because they know I didn't know how to read. They know I had nobody to study with. I didn't even know about Sean's outlines at that time, the self-help book, okay? Well, Mikela could tell you right now, I give all the BSc students a Sean's outline if that's what they want. And so those are some of the things, you know. And see, my advisor at Minnesota, they were more concerned thinking I would be uncomfortable because they know I had never been in a classroom with a white person before. And coming from the segregated South and stuff, that didn't faze me at all. Because even though we were segregated in Mississippi and stuff, my white neighbors lived up, you know, a mile up the road, and their kids, we played together until they got a certain age, especially, you know, naturally with the females and stuff, but it wasn't any big deal. And so my department head at Minnesota and some of the professors, they thought I was going to be so uncomfortable just from being around white folks. That didn't faze me at all. But it did. And the other thing, at least for me, I spent 9 years at Minnesota, well, not at Minnesota, between Minnesota and Cornell. And Dr. Moore, I never had an engineering course with another Black American student.
Wow.
And trust me, if you don't, you need somebody to study with, somebody you can talk to and stuff. But I did survive and stuff, and it turned out to be and managed to finish the program. Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to specifically touch on some of your patents. And I know, at least from while you were developing the patent and everything, at least while I was at FAMU, I got to see what you were doing with the cooling vest. But what are some of the other patents that you have had, and what inspired you to do them?
Well, the first patent I got, you know, because you know, at Minnesota and Cornell, not mainly, but my major, my specific area was structures and environment and stuff, confined housing for animals. But the first patent I got was at Florida State was a pre-cooling container, post-harvest container. It was a simple concept, you know. Basically, you got a styrofoam container, you freeze a layer of ice in a perforated tray, if you want to call it that. And once you put them on the storage, you know, because they're gonna be under refrigerated condition at around about 34, anywhere from 34 to 36 degrees. And so this was chlorinated ice, and as the over a period of time, when the ice is starting to melt, the chlorinated water is gonna drop down, you know, on the vegetable that's in the container, and they're gonna kill whatever bacteria that might be developing, starting to grow. But the other thing about it, you can start to cool and process. Time you harvest the vegetables from the field, if you put them in this container, they are already in a cool, moist environment, and you know from that it's going to increase the shelf life because you're doing what? You're removing the field heat, so you can increase the shelf life. And the second patent that I got was I got tired of going to, I'm still tired of it in a sense, going to receptions and things like that. You got a plate of food in one hand, okay, and you got the beverage in another hand. So somebody might walk up to you and you can't shake their hand or whatever. And also, most of the time, a lot of times, these receptions and things like that, they don't have enough table for you to sit. Place your a tray of food and your beverage. So, so the next invention, the patent that I got, was for a plate and cup holder that you can hold in one hand. Okay. Wow. Now, if you recall, and then I think the third patent that I got was when you know, go in my office, that clock, those clocks on the wall, they can also double as a plate and cup holder. Really? And I also got another patent, which is also, most folks like to eat in their cars or vehicles. And here again, it's an invention where you can attach a apparatus, okay, put it inside of your cup holder, just like your cell phone holder that they advertise all the time. With this apparatus, you can attach a small plate to it and have your beverage at the same time in the same location. Okay. And so what was the other one? Oh, some of those clocks that you see, the desktop clock, I think Miss Hudson might have had one on her desk, at least a nameplate. And so I got I got a couple of design patents for those. And the cooling vest, the adiabatic, cooling vest, the solar adiabatic cooling vest is that you can attach. Okay, we can use evaporative cooling to cool down inner part of your body. Okay, to cool down inner part of your body. So that's about 6, I believe. And just a month ago, Dr. David and I, we did receive a patent for the absorption vapor absorption refrigerator system. But it was Dr. Day, to be honest, did most of the work and stuff, but I am listed on the patent. And I have some other patent. This past year, students in senior design, they were working on, I have a patent pending on an apparatus that can rehydrate whipped vegetables using osmosis in order to do that. So the main concept, if you essentially lace vegetables with a layer of salt water solution, and then if you subject it to a high moisture, high relative humidity environment, and based on osmosis, those vegetables are going to pull water back into the lace. They wilt it. You can restore water and bring them back to the theoretically bring them back to their original state. So that is the appendix, but I am working on some prototypes to see whether this will actually work. And I have several other patents too that also pending.
Well, there it
Those
is.
are some of the patents. I have about 6 pending right now.
That's awesome. All right, so this last question I have from me is just, I want to get insight into your vision of the bio and ag engineering program, where you think we should go, or where do you think we are headed as a whole, and at FAMU as well, if you would like to talk about your school.
Well, we certainly, as far as the society, and even, for our program at FAMU or for that other historically Black schools, we know already that water is going to be the most precious commodity in the world. And it is already, but it's going to even get worse. Now, we don't have a problem in the area of water. Okay, we don't have we don't have a problem, in my opinion, with fresh water from a quantity standpoint. The problem we have is what? We have a separation problem. When I say separation problem, the oceans are what? 97% fresh water, but it's just to what? Separate the salt from the fresh water. Yes, we use desalination, but that is just so expensive. So when you hear the U.S. government, when they talk about the infrastructure, bridges and highways, I think given the climate change that's taking place now, we might better be talking about a water infrastructure. Just like we had the interstate highways, we probably need to have some interstate water systems. And the source of the water is going to come from the Gulf of Mexico and the Pacific Ocean and the Atlantic Ocean. So we need to do a lot of research on, and because, are we going to use the water for growing food? Are we gonna use it, you know, for consumption and stuff. Okay, so we need more research done in the area of water quality. Okay, and water, like I said, quantity wise, the water is there, but we just got to find a more economical way to separate the salt, you know, from the fresh water. And there may be some ways to do it other than these high pressure filters that we have to push through the water through in order to do desalination. Yeah. But to feed the 10 billion folks, and we know that we coming what? We are already becoming a bioenergy society. In order to be a bioenergy society, it's going to take a lot of water to produce the biomass in order to get to extract the energy that we need.
Absolutely.
I guess to build off of your question that you asked Dr. Gayle, I know you have patents pending right now, but what do you see retirement looking like for you? I know you mentioned that you wanted to wait for the program's 25th anniversary, at least to do that. So what would retirement look like for you, since I know you're still doing all of these things?
So after I retire, when I'm going to retire?
I guess.
Well, that's the reason. You know, of course, Dr. Magee asked me to stick around for 25th anniversary with the, but COVID-19, we probably won't have a 25th anniversary. But the other main reason I'm gonna stick around Mikela for at least maybe 2 more years is for the ASABE visit. You know, a year from now, the fall of 2021, ASABE is coming back, and so that would hurt the program if I were to leave, you know, next year. Those are the main 2 reasons. And once I retire, I hope to. I do have my own company as well to try to get some of these inventions on the market. Is what I would like to do.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Mcgee. I truly appreciate your time. We appreciate what you've done for the field, and just looking forward to all of the many more things you have to add. So.
And thank you for inviting me, and hopefully I may have said something that might be useful to you, useful to ASABE or the PWI or whatever. Yeah. As they say, my old NFA, you don't know what NFA is, but your folks do. That was called, just like you got the FFA, the Future Farmers of America. When I came along, the segregated day, they had New Farmers of America.
Wow.
So Google it, and the creed that and the lines that I read, and the creed that we had for the organization, it was saying the life of service is the life that counts. Wow. So just Google it sometime. New Farmers of America. That's what the Negro. That was our organization. You probably got some relatives that may know about it. At least the guys. They probably grew up in that organization if they over a certain age.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.